and Outreach. I'm Kim Welch, the Education and Outreach Director at Perfect Circle Credit Union. So welcome to this virtual Zoom class. We have several people signed up. We'll see who all gets logged in here in the next couple minutes, okay?
Sounds good.
So Mike, how familiar are you with doing Zoom? Well, maybe I didn't catch all that. I catch myself not unmuting myself if I've muted. That's one of the drawbacks, I think, to these online classes. Jason, do we have any other people in the waiting room or anything?
No, I'm looking at it now. It looks like that's it for now, but if anybody joins in, I'll let them in, so we can get started anytime if you like.
Okay. Well, I think Mike, not sure. I know he's left. There he is. All right. Well, good deal. We'll go ahead and get started then. Welcome. I want to just say kudos to all of you for logging in here tonight. No matter where you are with your own financial experiences and knowledge, I think it's great that you've taken some time to listen to someone else's perspective and to engage with us and learn more and take control of your lives and future. And it's pretty powerful and encouraging to me to have you guys here tonight to do that. We're going to talk about managing credit and paying down debt. Because we are a nation of debtors. We've made it pretty desirable and easy and convenient to go into debt, right? In fact, the average American carries a balance close to $7,000 on credit card debt, more than $25,000 in non-mortgage debt like autos and personal loans. And the average student loan debt balance hit a record high recently of over $34,000. So you might be sitting here thinking, oh, I wish my credit card balance was just $7,000, or I wish my credit or my car loan was only $25,000 and my student loan debt was paid down to $34,000. You know, we're all in different situations. Those are average. But the fact of the matter is, you're probably sitting here wondering, how did I get myself into this mess? And the fact is that without much of a plan, it was pretty darn easy. And over half of all Americans say they actually spend more than they earn every month. And they use credit to bridge that gap. So credit card debt is pretty common, and it's definitely one of the harder things to get paid off because we tend to pay on it and then reuse it. It's easy to see how so many people are struggling with debt and why it's kind of easy just to want to bury your head in the sand, I guess, and not deal with it. But I hope you're here tonight because you're done with that type of strategy and you want to hear a better way. You're tired of struggling. You're tired of stress. You want maybe a simpler existence out there. and understanding how to manage your debt, get out of debt. We know it's not going to be an easy road, but it's the only way to a better life. I'm not against debt. I mean, one of the people that I've learned about debt from and how to pay down debt is Dave Ramsey. And I don't know if you're familiar with him. I like what he teaches in some aspects, but I have never been a fan of his when he says debt is dumb. I've been in debt. I've used debt. I was able to purchase a home, buy cars, go on vacations. Sometimes it's just a cash flow problem. And I appreciate debt, and I have worked hard to have a good credit and a good credit score. And so I'm not going to sit here and bash debt. So, you know, I've overspent and I've done some dumb things, and I've had some things happen that I wasn't prepared for. But every time, you know, what you got to do is just dig your heels in and just do the hard stuff. It's probably not anything that you haven't heard before, but hopefully maybe in a different way or more encouraging way, we can get a handle on this stuff tonight. So this is actually one of my most favorite topics to discuss. And I'm happy to be here with you guys who seem to be interested in learning more. So we'll go ahead and get started then. Try to use my not having much luck with my PowerPoint here. Let's see. From current slide. Trying to advance my slide. Don't know, maybe this is how I do it. Okay, yes. All right. So we have debt for everything, from student loans, credit cards, car loans, personal loans, mortgages, you name it, you can borrow money for it. And understanding that is super important because all of this information gets reported to a credit bureau. And we're just going to talk about the basics here at first, probably things that you maybe already know, in fact, but it's super important if you are not familiar with some of these things to understand that when you get a credit card, it's really important for you to manage it well and to make the payments on time, because all that does get reported to the credit bureaus. And those bureaus are looking at, they get information from the creditors, and they know your balance, they know when you made the payments, they know how, if you've paid things off, if things have been sent to collections, all that gets sent to these three credit bureaus: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And not all the information that they have is correct. And so back in 2003, the federal government realized that a lot of information was being misinterpreted or misprinted or whatever, where there was fraud going on. And they created something called the free credit report, so that the consumer didn't wonder what was being reported about them and wondered why they weren't getting credit and things like that. And so at annualcreditreport.com, this is one of the ways that you can manage your credit by watching to make sure that there isn't any fraud happening and that the information that's being reported about you is correct. And at that time, they said they wanted the credit bureaus to give you one free credit report every year. But you'll notice that when I went to their website, they have a disclaimer on there now. Because of the pandemic, you can actually access your credit report on a weekly basis. And that's how important they think it is. There's a lot of fraud out there. And people are using social security numbers to get unemployment benefits and different things. I've had that happen to me. Now, would I look at my credit report on a weekly basis? Probably not. But if there were some red flags that I was aware of, then it's nice to know that I can. Or if I'm trying to work through a situation where it's been reported incorrectly, and I know that I've done what I needed to do to make it right, I want to see them fixing it. And so I have the ability now to check. So that's a part of your job. And if you're going to borrow money, is to make sure what's being reported is accurate and that other people aren't getting credit in your name. And that's just a part of it. So all of this gets converted into what we now know as a credit score. Most familiar with the FICO score. It ranges from like 300 to 850, with 850 being the highest and 300 the lowest. And most people are going to fall in the 700 range and have decent credit and be able to get credit. But this wasn't a thing. When I first started in the financial world, we didn't have credit scores. Everything was, when you borrowed money, it was based on, you know, job time and your character. And we pulled a credit report. We saw if you paid your bills on time, but a score was not used to determine what your interest rate might be, whether you are going to be approved or not. And so it's important to manage all of your credit well, because these things are influenced by this credit score. If you have good credit, you have more negotiating power now. You have some sort of status with this credit score. You might get approved for higher limits than you would. And also, if you don't have credit, or I shouldn't say don't have credit, but if you, well, if you don't have credit, yeah, you might not be able to get into an apartment or a rental home or something like that without putting down some sort of down payment or a security deposit. So the credit score factors into a lot of different things that people do out in the real world. In fact, it even factors into how much you pay in car insurance, because I guess they've realized that if you maybe don't pay your bills on time, that you might be more likely to submit more claims on your car insurance or something like that, making you a higher risk and being charged higher interest rates. But also, if you don't have a good credit score, you'll most likely have to pay some sort of deposits on cell phones and other contracts and utilities and things like that. So managing what you have when you do go and borrow it is super important. And you want to avoid having some of these negative things happen. They can be just as troubling as a late payment, or probably more so than a late payment. But things to avoid are not contacting your creditor when you're having trouble keeping up with payments and kind of going off the grid. And eventually they will have no other choice but to charge that loan off. That's not at all what they want to do. Most lenders are willing to work with you if you contact them before you fall behind, if you stay in communication with them, let them know what's going on. If you follow through with your end of the agreement as well, they are more willing to work with you, which will save you a lot of heartache and avoid collections and repossessions and ultimately bankruptcy and foreclosure, because that doesn't help anybody. One of the things that, if you're not aware when you're having trouble making the payments, is that they might be able to extend the loan payment to the end of the loan instead of having it due this month. So they're going to waive a payment right now, add it to the end. I know that during this pandemic, that's been done a lot for a lot of people to help them through the situation. They can waive late fees and change your due date, but the strategy of putting your head in the sand does not help. It won't help them be willing to work with you in these type of situations. So again, you have to be aware, you have to be responsible and do the right thing, even when you know it's going to be really hard to make a monthly payment. Coming, and communicating with people about that is a really good first step. So we know how all of this affects your credit history and your credit score. I guess what we also should be thinking about when we borrow money is, are we borrowing money for the right reasons? Is this a necessary thing? Because it's so hard sometimes to get things paid off, and it's so hard to anticipate what might happen in the future. We don't anticipate losing our job or having a pandemic happen, and just things that kind of make it squeeze us even more than we thought. So asking ourselves these questions before we borrow money is always really good. Is it necessary? Will the monthly payments fit into my budget? Could you save for a few months instead of borrowing the money for it right now? And is it worth the added interest? So that's just a part of managing your debt well, is knowing what is good debt and what's bad debt. For example, student loan debt. If you know that you are dedicated, you like school, you're dedicated, you know that you're going to graduate, and the likelihood of you getting a job that would justify, going into debt, that's definitely, a good loan to take. But a student loan debt or student loan could be a bad decision with, that I'm not really sure if I'm going to like school or not. And school's really expensive. And so I'm going to have to borrow a lot of money. And I really don't know if I'm going to like the job that I can get afterwards, or if it's going to pay enough to justify all this. We have to be willing to have those hard conversations with our kids when it comes to student loans, and only borrow what they need to go to school and not borrow to live a certain lifestyle. I know in some of my time with the credit union, I've gotten to speak with different people, and getting a student loan is fairly easy for some people. And for whatever reason, we have pushed people towards borrowing as much as they can instead of borrowing just what they need. And they've over borrowed, and they might have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in student loan debt at this point. And that's really hard to pay back. And they did it to have a certain lifestyle. They bought cars with it. They, had a good time with it and things like that. And I am not against student loans at all. I'm not against going to college. And so I don't want to come across that way, but I am against you borrowing more than you really need, just so that you can have a better experience while you're there. And making that clear. We can borrow for anything. We could borrow to buy a dog. We could borrow to eat out. We can borrow for vacations and shopping and all those things and all the wants that we want. And that's not a good reason to borrow money. But maybe we've done that already. And so now we've got to figure out how to get all of that in check. What percent of Americans have credit card debt that they won't be able to pay off within a year? What do you think that is? Just to get some feedback from you guys. What percentage of Americans have credit card debt they won't be able to pay off within a year?
90%.
Did you say 90?
Yep.
Okay. Mike, do you have any ideas? Oh, I can't hear you. I'm reading lips, and I think you might have said 75%. Okay. All right. So we've got 90 and 75%. The answer is actually 70%. So you guys were thinking correctly. It's a really high number. And again, it's because we use debt to bridge the gap from, what we make and how we want to live. And we've got to start making different decisions about credit for sure. What do you think keeps so many Americans from paying off their credit card bill every month? You guys have any ideas? Own experiences?
There's not enough money to go around.
Just not enough money to go around. So that's probably the number one reason right there for sure. Many who don't pay their credit card bill off every month will just pay the minimum, and the minimum on credit cards typically is around 3%. Some credit card companies are charging 4%. Paying the minimum monthly payment is not a good strategy. It's now with the credit card Payment Act, I forget exactly the correct name for it, but I don't know if you've noticed that on your credit card statement, there is a box that says if you only make the minimum monthly payment on your credit card, it'll take you X number of years to pay it off, and your balance can be average. We talked about $6,000 or $7,000, and it can take you 9-10 years to pay off making the minimum monthly payment. And that's that when we see that and we know that all we can afford is the minimum monthly payment, we get discouraged. I think the reason that we can't pay our credit card bills off too is that we've never been taught to save much money. We spend as much money as we have coming in. And sometimes it costs that much to live, but other times we just have acquired things that we think we need or want, and just our overall budget just doesn't really match our income. So it's important to get some control over this. And this question down here, what advice would you offer to a friend who's trying to pay down credit? Well, why don't we talk about some strategies? Some ways to get out of debt faster. We will spend time talking about two methods. One is the debt snowball method, and one is the avalanche method. I want to show you a worksheet in Excel that I think you might like, but definitely a way to pay down debt faster is to pay more than the minimum monthly payment on your credit card. Reading your statements, realizing how much time it will take to make to pay that off it's important. You need to acknowledge that, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, not ignore it. Are you familiar with the debt snowball method?
I am.
Okay, all right. So the debt snowball method is listing your smallest balance to your largest, and then going after that smallest balance with some vengeance, basically paying more than the minimum on just that one account while making the minimum on the other accounts until that one's paid off. And the reason that one is so effective, maybe not the most mathematically correct way to go about it, but it's so effective because it builds momentum. It gets you energized and motivated when you see a card or a loan balance paid off. And when you start attacking something pretty aggressively like that, it really doesn't take a lot of time unless your balances are extremely high, even your smallest one. But typically that's not the case. Most people that I work with, they've got a department store credit card or some sort of bill that's several hundred or just, a little over $1,000. And when they can actually accomplish something getting that paid off and see that happen, then that builds that momentum, that snowball effect, and they stick with it. That's the problem. We all know what to do. What we've talked about so far tonight, probably you realize I'm not telling you anything new, but it's just hard to do. The avalanche method is different. It's looking at the interest rate and taking the highest interest rate and paying on that one with all of that of vengeance. Because it's assuming that the highest interest rate, you'll be paying more out in finance charges. That is a waste of money. And so that's why they approach that way. And sometimes that can be more effective, but your highest interest rate loan might also be one of your higher balances. And if it takes 3 or 4 years to get something like that paid off, you will probably lose interest in it before it's ever the goal's ever met. And so that's why that one's so hard to, like, for me, even though mathematically it might make more sense, it's really hard to encourage people to do that. But sometimes it's a hybrid of the two. What's been very effective for our family is going after cash flow is a problem, right? When you're budgeting. And so it wasn't always the smallest balance, and it wasn't always the highest interest rate. A lot of time it's a car payment that was causing cash flow problems. Like if we had a $400 or $500 car payment, it would be super nice to get that paid off. And so when it seemed like, we could do that within and you decide, if I could get that paid off in a year, then let's just be very aggressive towards the car payment. Because when I get that paid off, now I've got $400 or $500 that I can utilize, and I can pay off several credit cards very quickly with $400 or $500 extra every month. And so that was a hybrid of what we've done in the past that's been pretty helpful. Again, I'm going to show you a spreadsheet and you can see all of this. Another way to get out of debt faster is to create and live on a bare bones budget. Nobody can do this forever, but if you know, like, we can do this for this certain amount of time to actually just squeeze out enough extra income so that you can begin paying a little bit extra on these credit cards and utilize the debt snowball, then honestly, if you're serious about this, you've got to do that part of it and maybe even more. And there's not really just one thing in here that you can do that's going to make a difference, but you do the bare bones budget and get a side hustle, and now you're really making some progress. And all of us have something that we can maybe do on the side, a talent or just a hobby that we could utilize for some money, right? Another thing, there's always seasonal jobs. I think I said get a season, but get a seasonal or part-time job. Again, nothing for forever. Nobody wants to work all day and all night forever, but just to get a little bit of cushion, a little bit of breathing room, it will be so satisfying, and it's highly encouraged. Another thing, sell everything that you don't need. Have a yard sale, use Facebook Marketplace. There's probably things in your home that you have acquired that you don't need and someone else would love. Now is a great time to sell a car. Actually, if you own a car that you really are struggling making payments on, Dave Ramsey would say, sell the car. And with things the way they are, with low inventories on the car lots, I'm hearing on the news every night that you can get more for your car than it's actually worth, potentially, which has never happened. I mean, when Dave Ramsey told people to sell their car 10 years ago, well, they owed way more on it than what they could ever sell it for. But if you have an SUV, those tend to be a higher monthly payment. They are also gas guzzlers, which are hard on the budget as well. And now's a great time to unload something like that. And I know you're going to have to replace it, but you're going to replace it with a lower payment vehicle, something that's more economical and easier on your budget to give you a little breathing room. And it doesn't have to be forever, just until you get through the season of difficulty with the finances. Doesn't ever hurt to ask to lower your interest rates on your credit cards. I know at our financial institution, if you ask to do that, probably aren't going to get you're probably not going to get too far with that. Our rates are fairly low already anyway, but we will work with people on payment plans and things like that. But if you have a credit card with Capital One, some of those bigger credit card companies, I would definitely call and ask. They're not going to lower your interest rate when they see you struggle just because they're waiting on you to ask. So you've got to ask. The next thing is to consider transferring your balance to a zero credit card offer. If you have good credit, this is an option, and it's an option that I think you should consider. It may not be something that you actually do. You will have to pay a fee typically when you transfer your balance to a zero balance credit card, but they're looking for good risk. They want to lend money. They know that if you transfer your balance, the likelihood of you using that card with them is good. And so they're looking for people who could do that. And when you're paying 0%, and I use this in the debt snowball and go after that account with, very aggressively, then you can make a lot of headway when your whole payment is reducing the principal balance and no interest is being deducted from your actual payment every month. You can make some good progress with that. Use all extra income, gifts, birthday money, found money, bonuses, tax refund, every little extra thing that you normally maybe would have used for vacations, new TVs, a new outfit, new wardrobe or whatever, because you haven't been doing that. Using all of that extra income towards the debt is pretty important when you're trying to get out of debt faster. You got to drop the expensive habits, going out to eat, and also, buying the coffee and the expensive things, and just learn to live on the cheap. It's not fun. It doesn't have to be forever, but those are things that we have to do to get out of debt. And then also, this is a funny thing to say, but money is very emotional. And when we get on Facebook and we see what other people are doing, where they're traveling to and what they are purchasing, if we go online a lot and like to shop, if we watch TV, HGTV was my big thing. I watched all those home improvement shows and then wanted to do everything that they did. I had to walk away from that stuff in order to save money. I was not able to save money and watch those things on TV. Stay away from the mall and from Target, which I don't have any females in my class tonight, so you probably don't even understand the whole Target thing, but it's real. Got to stay out of that store. But maybe you have your own store or your own online shopping or show that, really kind of hits you and makes you want to spend money. I don't know what it is, but step away from it. And once you start saving money, once you start doing some of these methods and see some success, you'll build that momentum and be able to move forward. But if what we're talking about tonight is so much bigger, and in the strategy of, using the snowball method and the avalanche method just is not going to work, I don't want to discount that there are management companies out there that will help you in these situations. I personally don't recommend people go to any specific ones other than GreenPath. I trust GreenPath. They're a nonprofit. Some of their services are free, but then they also charge for some services. And what we know and what we can share with you is stuff that you can do on your own with the help of the credit union, the help of my help as a resource. But if not, these are 3 companies that I would check out if after what you're doing on your own and what the credit union is maybe able to help you with isn't working, to potentially utilize. And I don't want you to forget about the credit union. The credit union was established during the Depression, when things are really, really tough for people. And the Teeter family in Hagerstown wanted their company to survive. They wanted their employees to make it through all of this. And they encouraged their employees to form the credit union. And if you don't know that much about credit unions are a not-for-profit cooperative, people helping people. And all of that same philosophy is in our offices today. So we can be a resource, a counseling resource through person-to-person, virtual, or phone, and we have lots of educational resources on our website. I can be your accountability partner if you need someone like that. When we had our Dave Ramsey small groups, we did a lot of that. Getting together and talking about and through things was very helpful and encouraging to people, because again, finances is so emotional. We kind of need a cheerleader sometimes to help us through. We will review your credit. We have done numerous consolidation loans to help people lower their payments. We've extended terms so that you can cash flow things better in your budget. So if that is a thing that you think might be helpful, that's something that we would like to talk to you about. Lowering interest rates that you're paying on other debt might also be a way to get some of this debt paid off. If any of those things are things that we can help you with, you can reach out to me. My number is on the screen there, and my email address. You can find me on our website as well. So I want to pull up, see if I can, gotta share something else with you here. This is a calculator. It's called the debt reduction calculator. And it's kind of neat because it has the option to look at the snowball method and also the avalanche method. And then you can play around with it and do something more custom where you're doing both. But basically, you enter some credit card information in here, balances. I'm just going to put some information in here. Let's see. Oops. Okay. So I put my debts in here. These are the balances. These are the monthly payments and the interest rate. And over here, it's calculating approximately how much interest it would charge on this balance every month. So about $45 of my $100 monthly payment is going towards interest, meaning I'm only reducing my principal balance by about $55. Here, if I pay 60 on this Visa, $15 is going towards interest. The rest is being used to reduce the balance. And obviously on a low balance loan with a low interest rate, at this point in time, that loan's almost paid off. Very little is going towards interest. And so that's nice that calculates all of that for you. Here it's wanting to know how much monthly payment, enter the amount that you can set aside each month to pay off your debt. The amount should be greater than the sum of all of your individual payments. And so I know that I would need at least $2,235 to pay all my debt, right? That's how much these things are. And if I looked at my budget, the reason that we do extra jobs or we do a bare bones budget is to try to squeeze as much money out of wherever we can and put it towards our debt. So I'm going to say that I can put $2,500 towards this. That would be making the minimum monthly payments plus an extra, $165, or $265 more. So we have that established, that is what I can do. And if I change this now to the Snowball, you notice that it's put them in order down here of the lowest balance to the highest balance. And it calculates, I can actually, if I can make regular minimum monthly payments, but put an extra $265 towards this Visa, I can have this paid off in 4 months. Oh, also I need to change this date up here. Let's put October. That would make more sense. We'll put today's date. Okay. Recalculate everything for us. Okay, so if I can do that, I could have this credit card paid off in February of 22. And when this credit card's paid off, I now make the minimum monthly payment of my auto plus this extra $265. And I can see that actually that's, with the balance being so low, that's going to get paid off anyway in March of 22. But once that car payment's paid off, that was $525 plus what I had been paying on these 2 credit cards extra to get them paid off sooner, I can now start using towards my American Express and get that paid off in 8 months. There's actually a snowball chart here that I want to show you. When you can see it in, I don't know if you guys can see that okay or not, but this is what it would look like, paying $265 towards that one credit card. By February, I've got that paid off. I know that because I have a 0 balance, and now I can put the extra money towards the car loan, and car loan's going to get paid off about the same time. then we start putting all that extra money on the American Express. And you see when you're paying $500, $600, $700 towards a balance, it doesn't take long. And that's why this snowball method works so well. If you can stay the course, stay on track, find some extra income and build the momentum up, you can see, in fact, what's interesting is we have a student loan, right? It had a $34,000 balance when we first started. If we eventually can start paying all the extra on it in July of 22, we're going to be able to pay $1,300 instead of $350 until that's paid off. And that can be paid off in August of 24. And I share this with you because some people think that they're going to pay their student loans till they die. And they don't get really excited about that. But even the mortgage payment with $120,000 balance, making the regular payment and then using the debt snowball method, being able to pay the extra when all the other bills are paid off, which would be the whole $2,500. When do you think you would be able to pay off your house? In 4 or 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Let's look where this balance is. Okay, September of 27. When you're putting that much money towards it, you will have paid off that that mortgage balance. That's like in 5 years. You get that aggressive with things. Stay the course. You can be debt free in a lot sooner than you think. And people don't realize it. They think this is not possible. Now, maybe it is going to be super hard to get $265. We could play around with those numbers. Maybe it's only $100 or maybe it's only $50, you know. Of course, things are going to take a little bit longer, but you can see what $200, $300 in this situation, how that impacts and how quickly you can get your debt paid off. You can change it, and this shows the total interest paid back is $16,360. If you wanted to compare going after the highest interest rate loan instead, it changes things. It would have you pay off the American Express first because it's the higher interest rate Visa, and then your student loans, this car loan is going to get paid off anyway, just making a regular monthly payment before these other ones do. And then finally your mortgage, but $16,344 approximately is what you pay back in finance charges. I already forgot the amount here, but it's not that much different. Okay. It's not, you would have to have a lot of credit cards, probably with higher interest rates, in order to make that avalanche method worthwhile, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And we could spend, I mean, this is like a whole thing in itself. We could spend some time together if you want to try to use a calculator like this. It definitely gets you excited and helps build momentum, I think, for paying off your debt. But it's a really good illustration of how effective the debt snowball can be. And then also wanted to share with you, we're not going to be too much longer. Let's see, where is that at? I wanted to share our website with you. Sure. Okay. So under products and services, we have a financial wellness center. You can click on that link and you can look at topics. Paying down debt, borrowing is under the borrowing and credit. And there are some neat calculators and coaches out here. There is a coach called Get Out of Debt, and it will walk you through all of the debts that you have, and you can kind of play around as well with that to see how quickly you could get some debt paid off. Very encouraging. There's also a whole article about Green Path, which is one of the counseling management systems that we spoke about earlier. Again, I haven't had a lot of people use it, but if we're not able to help you, if you're not able to do this on your own and we're not able to come alongside you and do something, then maybe you look at that as an option. Also, I think that there was a calculator that would, there's just so much stuff in here. Lots of information about credit scores, establishing credit, what to do if you need to file bankruptcy. I know that there was the calculator in here. I thought there was anyway. No, I don't see it. But when you can't afford minimum monthly payments, there's some resources here that we would definitely like you to look at and create some dialogue with us. If we can help you as you begin learning and trying to move through this process. So that's really all that I have for you tonight. Do you guys have any questions?
Kim,
None for me.
I'm sorry, we had a message on the board from Melissa asking if it would be possible to get a copy of the debt calculator sent out.
Absolutely. I have everybody's email, so I can do that. I will do that tonight.
And her other question was, how do you stay motivated after a while? I can say from my own experience, I've been doing the debt snowball for a little over a year. And to me, the true motivation is when you start seeing those debts fall off and you start seeing how much more money you have to put towards the next debt and then the next debt and then the next debt. And then when you think to yourself that once I get all these debts paid off, I'm going to have all that money to do with what I please, whether it be put towards retirement or, you know, I have 2 kids who will go to college education, you know, to whatever. To me, that's been the motivation, is watching those debts fall off. And, you know, I've not been one that really watches a credit score too greatly, but in the year that I've been doing it, I have seen my credit score jump tremendously. So answering the question that Melissa had, that's been my motivation, is just seeing the progress in such a short amount of time. Because like you were saying, Kim, it builds up quick when you really get going and the debts start falling off and the money starts adding up that you have
to use towards the new debt. Yeah,
yes.
It really does. I think if you don't see it on paper like that, it's hard to believe and imagine that it can work like that, but it does. And we just have to stay the course. Yeah. Chris, did you have anything?
Nope, no questions.
Okay. How about you, Mike? All right. Well, I think I will definitely get that calculator sent out so that you can begin playing around with that and touch base with me if you need some help with it. I know that there's some videos that go into more detail about how to use it if you're wanting to use a hybrid of the 2 methods, and how to recalculate, because as you if something changes, an interest rate changes, a payment amount changes or whatever, and you have to basically start over, and that's okay, but you need to do that so that the information is accurate. It's calculating things correctly. So Jason, I think you might have a prize to give away.
So we, like I said, for those that signed up in advance and we're actually in participation tonight, I am showing that there are 5 people in here. And let me see if I can share this. If not, make it work somehow. Okay, so unfortunately you guys can't see it, but I have a website where it's like a wheel that spins. And everybody's name is on that wheel, and I'll just confirm that I have a Dottie and a Mary, Michael, Chris, and Melissa. Those are the names that I have on here. So it'd be so much nicer if everybody could see it, but I am going to spin the wheel right now. And the winner is Melissa. Melissa, we're going to, you'll have $50 that we will put into your account for you, just for being in participation tonight. I'm going to see if I can't figure out how to share that better next time, so if I can actually see the wheel spin, because it's much better if you can see it. But Melissa, you are the winner. Congratulations for that. We will get that money deposited to you into your account. I'm going to thank everybody for being on board with us tonight. I know we'll do another one here in a couple weeks with a new topic, kind of continuing on with the theme that we've been going through, and everything. Is there any other questions anybody has or anything?
I read your comments too. Thanks, Melissa and D. Cox and M. Gettinger. I think I've met you, Mary, if that's the same Gettinger. But appreciate you guys getting on here tonight. And every time that we've done this, it's just gotten better. And thanks for the good feedback. So I'm here to help you get through this, get this started, and keep you motivated. Okay. You're welcome.
Have a good night, all. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.